Welcome to Wealthing Talks. I am your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, bringing you real life conversations from Silicon Valley or somewhere around the world. We will talk about disruptors, angel investments, venture capital, and of course, family offices. Join me along with my children, their families, friends, disruptors, and investors as we explore the fascinating world of creating wealth in a completely different and authentic way. Hello, everyone. It is such a joy, an immense joy, to have Keisha Landrum Pierre here with us. Thank you so much, Keisha, for spending your time with us today.
As I said before, if you ask me, the answer is always yes. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. So nice. So, Keisha, I remember meeting you way back when your youngest kid was just a baby and talking about what you wanted to do with Emmeline Ventures. Why don't you tell us what are you doing now and how did you get here?
Ooh, how did I get here? That's fun too. What am I doing now? Hello, everyone. Thrilled to be here. I think these conversations are so important, and I'm thrilled that you're having this conversation here with us. So what do I do and how did I get here? I have the great fortune of running a venture capital firm. And it is not an easy thing to do. It's a very expensive thing to do. It's an industry that's very hard to crack. And I've been very, very fortunate to be around really fantastic people to help us get off the ground. How did we get started? Myself and my co-founders were part of a network that invests in women-led businesses. We were in the same cohort. So by being together in the same cohort essentially means that we were diligencing deals together. So what that means is the network would say, "Hey, you all are a part of this cohort. Here's 5 deals. Look at them. Meet the founders. See what you think." We did that together and said, "Hey, I want to do more of this." And that was the beginnings, not of Emmeline Ventures, but of the precursor to Emmeline Ventures. And that was a vehicle whereby myself and my co-founders invested in 15 female founders. That was the sort of what I would say that sort of playground, the early moments where we were like deepening and refining our research and understanding of the opportunity. And the opportunity we found was not only investing in women entrepreneurs, but really the big unlock was going to be anchored in this data. Can I say, is it Alicia? Because I just keep wanting to say Alicia because that's my
It's
dear.
Alicia, but you can call me
Alicia.
anything. It doesn't matter to me.
Alicia, um, uh, you know Alicia, right? So it's the opportunity of investing in women is there. You hear it, we've heard
Yeah.
it. But our research really pointed to a huge unlock in women's health, and this was 6 years ago. It's a great time to be a women's health VC, and that's what we are. We invest in solutions that help women manage their health, build their wealth, and live in a cleaner, safer world. What does manage your health mean? It's women's health. Everyone's talking about women's health. But when we started, they weren't. And that's what VC is. It's finding the unlock before everyone else does, right? And that's a little bit about what we do. And essentially how I got started was I was a part of a network of people that wanted to sort of write checks, smaller checks. And then I built a trusted relationship with my co-founders and we invested just our own money, no one else's, into 15 deals. And then after that, we then built Emmeline Ventures. When we're done deploying out of both vehicles, I think we will have completed investing in almost 40 companies, not quite, but almost 40 companies in our portfolio.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. Now, I have a ton of questions about VC,
Oh,
but
let's go.
let me get back to you as the person. So when you were a little girl, were you thinking about becoming an investor? What happened? Because there's so many people that listen or watch this podcast and they think, oh, that's impossible. It's not for me. So what was the trajectory? Where were the milestones? What happened? Because certainly I didn't grow up thinking I'm going to be an investor. That was not in my radar.
That was not in the cards. No, I love that.
So what happened?
Great question. It's a lot of fun. When I was 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, did I want to be a VC? Did I even know what a VC was? No, but I can tell you that my 6 year old And my 8-year-old, um, I do think that they are going to like run Emmeline Ventures. They're so
Oh,
fun. And this is an aside, but for our annual general meeting, which is a meeting where we bring together all of our investors, we gave everyone like a notepad. And so we had a few extra, and I gave each of my kids one, and I wrote a note. And my youngest daughter says to me that she wants to be an inventor like mommy because mommy invented Emmeline Ventures.
oh,
And I said, so, we had our notepad and I wrote her a note. I wrote all the kids a note and I said, let this be your notepad where you write all of your ideas of what you want to invent. And so they can dream of a thing like a VC. Not in a million years was that anything I was even knew was possible. I didn't even know how to like put the thoughts together. Even if I didn't know how to say venture capital, right?
mhm.
Just the notion of like, hey, there are these businesses that have these great ideas, and these people have these great ideas, but they need help to get them off the ground in the form of money, in the form of counsel, in the form of
Yeah.
introduction. I didn't know that, Alicia. But what I did know is the power of storytelling. I knew that if you could tell a really, really great story, you could connect with hearts all over the planet. And that's what I've known I wanted to do since I was a little girl. So as a little girl, I'd get my mom and my dad to sit down and I'd stand on my stage, which was like the top step to go down to the living room, which was like 4 steps. And that was my stage. And I would tell them stories. I'd make up stories. I would tell them stories because I always have believed in the power of storytelling to connect with everyone and anyone. And I still very firmly believe that. I think um, that is essentially what Emmeline does a lot of storytelling. We do a lot of storytelling about the power of investing in women-led businesses and female entrepreneurship. We do a lot of storytelling around the power of where there's a huge financial unlock around women's health. We now are doing a lot of data storytelling. I even have updated my way in which I talk about myself. I'm a data storyteller. Emmeline Ventures releases report after report after report to say, hey, here's where the data is telling us. So I do think in the seat that I sit today, I never knew I'd be a venture capitalist, but I did know that I would use the power of storytelling to pull people around around a important thing, and that thing is women's health.
That is so fascinating. I mean, you reminded me the experiences that I had growing up in El Limón, in a little town in
Mhm.
Venezuela. It's not even in the map, it's tiny. And we're five. And I remember that we used to force my parents to watch us do a theater play. And poor parents. And we had tickets and we have everything. My grandkids do that as well. So this is very important for people who are listening to us who have the capacity to listen to little kids and to listen to their stories. And this probably has nothing to do with venture capital at the beginning or entrepreneurship, but the validation of listening to somebody is so powerful, so powerful. And this is part of the reasons why we invest in companies, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I love that listening to kids, I take it very seriously that my daughter believes that she's going to be an inventor. And so we talk about the things that she wants to invent because before the world can tell you that what you're doing is impossible, that's when you get to dream. And that's what you do as a kid. So it is so important to listen to what your kids are telling you because they are the future. And if you nurture those gifts, I mean, they can truly be transformative. I believe the work that you do, Alicia, is transformative for solutions that ought to exist in the world. By the way, thank you for the introduction to the incredible founder. I'm speaking with her this week, I believe. But the other piece is like when you listen to what you're being told, in my case, the power of storytelling, I'm still doing it, right? Those childhood years are so incredibly formative. Don't you agree?
I think so, but somehow in my trajectory, I moved. I moved into the lab because I'm a biology scientist, and I really like that, and I like physics too. And when I later, much later, when I did my PhD in finance, I decided that I needed to understand humans because finance is human related, whereas flowers and plants and genetics and energy are not necessarily. So, a plant is not going to stretch itself, but a human. That was a really interesting thing. So I sort of lost the storytelling part and I grab it like 40 years later. So I think it's interesting to keep connecting that. And The other thing that I think is really interesting in what you just mentioned is a complete sidetrack of that. People tend to think that VCs are mean, and some are, but people tend to think that VCs don't share deals. And the power of storytelling and community expands into this sort of very healthy ecosystem of, hey, I saw this deal. It matches your thesis. Why don't you take a look at that? And that's part of the storyteller that we tell. There's a ton of investors out there sharing deals and being nice to each other and being nice to founders. And I don't think we talk too much about that.
That's true. I think the main narrative is the sort of traditional VC, but a lot of VCs are mean. A lot of VCs hold things close to their chest. But you could say that about any industry. You've got the like mean folks. I do like you've got the folks who are selfish, who hold things to their chest. And I think the long game for an ecosystem, if everyone is selfish and everyone's holding everything to themselves, everyone in an ecosystem, you don't have an ecosystem. You literally do not have a functioning ecosystem if everyone is not participating or if they're not sharing, right? You need an ecosystem for industries to thrive. Industries are inherently an ecosystem, but to have one that's thriving, you actually need people to share. You'll begin to see the product of selfish ambitions exclusively show up. One thing that I was recently on a panel with a gentleman named Chaba Lucas, and I really like Chaba. Chaba, he was talking about something really important, and I don't want to butcher it, but I think it's really important to this notion of ecosystems and sharing and supporting each other and understanding that, hey, if you're on the cap table, I can do these really great things, but if you're on the cap table, you can do these really great things. And if they're on the cap table, they can do these really great things. And all together, we will all share in the success of this business. Something really interesting that he said is that human beings as when human beings have certain behavior, we all have our own collection and potpourri of ways that we behave. And the worst parts of us when we're an entrepreneur or an investor, right? The worst parts of us extend into the business that we're building, and so do the best parts of us. And so we want to be very thoughtful that if we are being selfish and self-centered and making things all about us, and then we build businesses, and that's our approach, guess what? Elements of those business, right, will show up with you be if you are a selfish person, there will be elements of how your business shows up. And so the example that he gives is the example of Facebook, where if you have a person who is socially awkward and doesn't actually, connect with people building a social platform, ultimately the the product will be something that doesn't bring you closer to people, right? But will probably pull you away from people. And we've seen that. So this notion that how we are and who we are as people shows up in the products that we build, and who we are as investors when we're pushing capital into these things that align with our values, it actually impacts the world around us. And so for you and me, we want to see a world and an ecosystem that is collaborative, an ecosystem that does share, that does allow all things, all the types of businesses that benefit all people to rise as well. We want to see that. We want to see women's health advance.
Oh, yeah.
And in so doing, that collective interest means that because we have that sort of that outlook, we invest, and as we do that, those things grow, right? More of what you want to see in the world, what I want to see in the world, it blossoms because that's what we're putting capital, and that's what we're bringing into these things. I think it's a great notion and idea. I hope it made a little bit of sense.
Oh, it made total sense. I had earlier today, I had a conversation with one VC that I invest. I invested in many VCs, and some are doing well, some are not doing well. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
what it is. But the lack of information bothers me, and there's something that I am very vocal about is the respect for money. So a lot of people think when you were talking about making this change and collaborating, I always knew that if I don't take care of myself, then I cannot do my job properly. So there's a balance. There was a psychiatrist in Australia that wrote this wonderful book that I can't find here. It's called A Balanced Life. And what he said is that most people tend to break a balance between caring for themselves and caring for others. And he said, this is not about society. It is about having a healthy life. And So earlier today, I wrote to the leader of these VC, and I said, I'm going to have to write an open letter because I've been requesting this information for a while. And you say, well, the intention. I don't work on intention. You have to have a process because I have a lot of investments, and I need to bring it into my team. And again, I have a team. I don't work in isolation. You don't work in isolation. I just need to figure out what works. And then there was this response about, well, if you're threatening me, nobody's going to want to invest with you. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second. I am requesting information. That is my right. Let me put the healthy boundaries here. Everybody wants to invest with me if I want them to invest with me because I bring that to the ecosystem. And there's many investors that are very collaborative, but we need to have the information. And one of the challenges, especially for me as a woman, is people tend to think that because I'm a woman, I don't respect my money or I don't respect money. And I don't respect the founders in a way that I have to tell them these are the things that you need to do to improve. So we need to have those conversations as
Yeah.
well. Do you see that? How do you manage that? How do we bring this up and create not only the impact that we want, but the returns that we want?
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. I think so all right, now we're getting into controversial territory. So
Love
I don't know if we get canceled for something like this, Alicia. I think it requires the founder community to be as serious about money as you just described that you are, and that I am, and that us as investors are. They have to be just as serious about returning the fund for us. They have to understand that that's the game we're playing. We're just simply saying we believe that women's health can return, or, in my case, I know that your thesis is much larger than that. But my point is like we believe that can return just as competitive capital as other sectors that are getting more attention. Not that we're doing this as an impact play. Like
it.
I still think it's very funny that investing in women is perceived as impact.
Oh, yes, in that weird niche.
Right.
Like,
I'm like,
excuse me, we're half of the population. So,
that's not a niche play.
yeah.
And that, I mean, we hear this said, but like really fundamentally, it's like this is not a niche opportunity, right? So we're just simply saying, and this, there's an unlock here that a bulk of capital is not paying attention to, but the opportunity is just as compelling, which means founders, right, need to see it that way as well. Now,
Yeah.
what I would say is that the sort of founder community, and you've had this experience as well. I think across the founder community, you will have folks that have entered the space to say, hey, it's ridiculous that there hasn't been a solution here. I'm going to build it. And so they're in it to build the solution and solve the problem and perhaps don't have that broader understanding of how this works. It's
Yeah.
like, right. And then you have the sharp exited founder, exited 2 or 3 time founder who totally gets the game and totally understands. And so I think when you find, I don't think you necessarily need to have exited 3 times to have that understanding, but I do believe that there's a need of like education within the founder community because so many of the folks who are coming into the space are coming to solve a need and not necessarily to build a thing that within the a venture backed business other than like, oh, I need VC dollars, but there needs to be a deeper understanding. And I think when we have that, then you'll have the sophistication of the founder that says, of course you need information, right? It's like you've got, of course, like this is a like if I don't get there, if in this relationship there are not information rights, like how do I understand how your business is doing? I didn't just give you money and then turn around. There's a whole aspect of this is portfolio management. We'll spend more time managing a portfolio than we will writing checks, which is not exactly true. But what I'm saying is like you write capital over a certain period of time, but the bulk of the time in relationship with the founder is not writing capital or writing checks, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's not writing, it's managing the portfolio. It's working with them to scale. And so, yes, you write follow-on checks, but the point is like the most of the time is like leaning in with the founder. So I think the answer to your question is we need a founder community that is just as serious about making money as we are as investors. That's what I
Oh,
think.
I love it. I love it. That has to be, I was at a podcast of a very popular show in Silicon Valley, and they asked me, with all the experience that you have and I said, well, all the mistakes that I made. I said, what is the one thing that you want people to know? And
Hmm.
I grew up socialist, And in a country where we didn't need money, to be honest. I mean, and there's many countries that are good socialist country, and now
Yep, of course
socialism
there are.
has become, yeah, these sort of, oh, they're socialist people are coming as well. Not that they're different things, and I'm very vocal about that because,
Good, good.
yeah, we need to understand that there's good socialist countries, and and money was never discussed in my house. It was like this thing that stupid people that couldn't get a job, they were entrepreneurs. So for me, I had to relearn
Fascinating.
so many things. What do you mean? Well, if you're not very smart, you don't go to university. Universities are where and are free, where I grew up. And so there was never the need to pay for education. I grew up thinking that our kids, we support our parents like I do now when they're old. And I remember the first time I came to the US, I was a teenager, and they were asking me, it was when the OPIC was found and in the Organization of Petroleum Companies, and they're like, "Why are you so mean?" And I couldn't understand any of that. I mean, I was completely oblivious to that. And then somebody's telling me about savings for retirement. I couldn't understand that. I'm like, "What do you mean? You mean you don't have kids? Your kids don't love you? You have to be why can't you kids take care of you? I mean, you took care of
Oh,
it." So it was so many things that
mm,
I had to learn. And then what I learned is that money and capital is a tool for progress. It can be a tool for oppression, but it's a tool for
a
progress.
tool for progress.
And what I said to this
Mm,
guy, this host, is that if there's one thing that I have learned that everybody has to learn is respect for money. So you have to respect money because money doesn't give you happiness, but it gives you choices. And if you respect money, you respect your money, you respect another person's money, you respect the taxes, you expect your taxes to do things for the community. So you
mm,
contribute. So it's such a sort of deep realization for me, for somebody like me. And when I go back and look at venture capital and things that you're doing and the things that I'm doing, it's really showing people how capital can be a tool for progress. Is we don't invest because we have pity. We don't invest because we need a solution. We invest because we want to have a return of equity with good products, well-served employees with taxes that we create for the community, and with return we create for our limited partners or our investors. So we continue doing that. And that's a very important message that most people fail to understand, especially in the case of investing in women's health. And I love what you're saying about women's wealth, that nobody is talking much about it. And a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people look at me and they start mansplaining or being condescending to, oh, let me show you how you do this. I know how to do that. And I probably know that better than you do.
that's right. Not only do I know it, I probably know it better than you.
So I like that approach that you're taking. If there's something that you have learned in this journey that you didn't know when you were a kid, or something that you discover, what would you write yourself? What would you write your younger like Keisha when you were like 10 years old and you're sort of
Mm.
starting to understand the world? What is the one thing that you didn't know that you learned?
um, that it works, that journaling, dreaming, thinking, planning, it works. I I wrote a lot, I journaled a lot, I planned a lot and sort of thought there. I didn't call it venture capital, but there's a point at which I learned that there are people that have money. So I meant to tell you this. Call it call it college years. I came to understand like, oh, there are people that pull together their money and do very cool things with it. Could be investing. I didn't use that word. But I came to understand that, began to journal about it and say, huh, maybe I could do this. I think taking the time to think about what you want to do and what you want to build, it works. Dream. Dreams make a difference. Actually believe in the impossible. Believe in it. Like you may not hit the most impossible thing, but just the fact that you have that, do those are sort of mental exercises of imagining, thinking, or trying to do the impossible, it's incredible. And I think it's absolutely worth it to do it. Yeah, I would say that's I didn't realize though, as I was thinking about these things and planning around these things, that it was actually going to make a difference. And I would say today that it definitely did.
Yeah, wow. When I went to elementary school, that was a motto. Dreams come first, always dream. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember the director. I mean, her name is Alicia, so we're still in touch. And she's, I don't know, I mean, 65. I'm 65. She's probably 85 or something, or 90. But we're still in touch, and she's very pro dreaming for children. And I keep telling her, no, we adults
We
need to
need
keep
to keep
dreaming too.
dreaming.
Yeah.
We adults need to keep dreaming. Alicia, we had like five really great quotes today. Are you kidding? Always keep dreaming. Truly. And not just that saying, but really do the mental exercise of like dreaming. Wow. Like really imagining the thing that's impossible and like living in it and just being in that. I think it makes a big difference.
And enjoying the dream makes us happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at your face. It just lights up. Yeah, mine too. Yeah. It
Well,
probably.
my face lights up because I got to catch up with you and spend time with you in this fantastic, amazing podcast where we get to have a real conversation and invite people to have that real conversation with us. So this has been awesome, Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you. And the possibility to take some time
I
to
know.
reflect and to be
Reflect.
alone and to play and to say, hey, we're okay. We're okay. Oh,
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait for this to be shared with the world.
oh, me neither. Um, so I want to end this great conversation with a very deep question. And it's a
Okay.
question about who we are when we're no longer here. I lived that. I
Mm.
saw myself dead for a while. And I'm like, and I woke up 4 days later. And I was very young. So I know my life is gonna end. And when you see death right here, you're like, okay, let's enjoy the journey. So who is Lakeisha when Lakeisha is no longer here? Or who is Lakeisha? What is the essence that you leave for people who don't have the pleasure of meeting you in person?
Oh, yeah, she's a mother. She's a nurturer. She's a nurturer of opportunities, of futures. She's a nurturer of humans. I already sort of see that sort of my sort of dying breath. I'm in a bed. I never really say this out loud. I think I've ever said this out loud, but I'm in a bed and it's my kids. My kids and my grandkids are around me, right? Because that's what matters at the end of the day, right? So they're around me. I think my and they love me, right? I think they love me. I think Alicia, so many people today are racing to so many things, but if they don't feel loved, they don't have genuine people that love them.
Yeah, that is true. But I have to make an extra, I have to extend what you say because there's a lot of people who don't have kids, or there's a lot of people who have lost their kids.
Oh, yes.
And for women my age, I remember the conversations that we had when I was younger, where if you wanted to have a profession, you couldn't be a mom. I remember that. I remember when I was doing my first master's, I've said a lot. I had one of my favorite professors. You look a little bit like her, by the way. One of my favorite professors in physiology. She believed that if you married science, you shouldn't have kids, you shouldn't have a personal life. And I remember presenting my dissertation when I was 8 months pregnant. And she she postponed my presentation for whatever reason, 2 weeks. And I went in and I said, I can't do that. And she said, why not? And I said, because I'm pregnant. I mean, and this is before Zoom. So, I mean, you can see I'm pregnant. And she said, well, nobody told you to get pregnant. And I said, I deserve to be, if I wanted to, I can get pregnant. And my baby is due in a week. I'm not going to do this in 2 weeks. We had this huge argument. And I remember going home. I was not the type of person that went home crying. I would get upset. And I remember going home and said, "Oh, that idiot. I'm gonna do something." And I did go to the university. They let me present in 2 days. And it was a huge issue because of course it was very disrespectful not to obey the whatever things that they had. But, for so many people, family is everything. I love my kids. I love my grandkids. I have a family office. It has been the best decision that I made. My grandkids,
Having a family office, right?
yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, we have one. Yeah,
My,
absolutely.
my grandkids think about investing in others as a privilege.
That's right.
But we expect the money to do that. We have a system as well in our family office that there's money to be invested by all the members, but all the members have to contribute to that pool. This is not the extraction,
Yeah.
which is the approach for family office. And we went on a tangent here, but this is not to extract the money that I created with all this effort. This is to use that money to enjoy, but also to contribute so other members of the family and other members of society can continue to grow.
That's
But
fantastic, Alicia. That's our next conversation. I think that's fantastic. I think more matriarchs need to have this conversation.
oh yes, but there's also people. I mean, and I'm a little emotional now because we just had the earthquakes in Venezuela where I grew up.
Yes.
There's so many people that lost their
Everything.
family.
Yeah.
I remember meeting with the first person that told me maybe you should consider doing a family office is a very, very dear friend, and he lost his wife, and he
Oh,
decided to leave his company and focus on his three kids. And I remember talking to him once that, my parents lost everything in Venezuela because of the financial crisis. And he said they didn't lose everything. They had their family.
that's right.
They had their health. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's right.
But now I think, going back to the reflection from your comments, is that if we only focus in our families, which for those who have families and those who have kids, that has become the most important thing for most of us. But there's something else in the community.
Oh, I
You
think
need to.
family, you're right. Family is most important, but not only important, like not the only important thing. In fact, I know that we're wrapping up. I want to close with my quote that I have been every day. I have like a quote that I have, and it's exactly what you're saying. So we have to read. So my quote says it's by Faye Crosby. If we confine ourselves to one life role, no matter how pleasant it seems at first, we will starve emotionally and psychologically. We need change and balance in our lives. That's my quote for today. And my goodness, how applicable is that?
Wow. And do you have a quote for every day?
Every day.
And where do you get those quotes?
I have I'm like old school, Alicia. Do you remember like the notepads where every day you have a planner?
Yes.
I still do that.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. That
Yeah.
is so cool.
I have like an old school planner. And I digitize it, but still I need to write. My power is in my pen, and I gotta get the thought out. So
Oh, I love that. My power is in my pen. Oh my gosh, so many quotes.
I
I
know.
I have to say this has been such an enjoyable episode. I have so much love and admiration for what you do. Thank
I
you
know.
so much for being here.
Likewise. I'm holding everything you just said, I'm holding a mirror, and I feel the exact same way. Thank you, Alicia. This has been fantastic.
What a great gift to share a conversation with somebody that you appreciate, that you admire, that you feel you are in the world together with some aligned goals, the opportunity to share deals, even if we don't invest or if we didn't invest, it doesn't matter. It's just the capacity to have your tribe where intentionally you're working to making the world a better place. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Lakeisha is an amazing human being, and I can't wait for you to enjoy what she says and to connect with her. This is your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to our Wealthing Talks. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. To stay connected, visit us at wealthing.com. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, your host, and until next time, yours in Wealthing.